How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Battlefield 2042 video. Now for today's video, I'm going to be going over my most hated things about Battlefield 2042. Now I could spend all day talking about the missing features and just things about this game that doesn't make this Battlefield game feel like a Battlefield game. There's just so much stuff. I could be talking for hours, but I'm going to try to keep this list limited to just the top 5 things currently. This is just some gameplay elements that I think DICE needs to get rid of or tweak to make the game better. The point of this video kind of gets two birds with one stone. I get to vent about some of my frustrations, but at the same time, hopefully get the word out there and potentially get these things fixed if people are talking about them. But this is just my personal opinion. If you guys don't agree, that is perfectly fine. Let me know down in the comments if you guys agree or disagree. But let's go ahead and get right into this list. So the first thing that I just really despise about Battlefield 2042 is the fact that suppressors are pretty much useless. And the reason that suppressors are pretty much useless is because there's so many things in this game that can like give away your position. In previous Battlefield games, I would love to put suppressors on my weapons and just go around and just hide and either like camp an objective, or I would try to flank an entire team. I would just sneak around the backside of the map and pick them off from behind, and they'd have no idea I was killing them because I had a suppressor and I wasn't showing up on their minimap. I would love to just do things like that. I would love to just run around with a suppressor and just constantly catch people off guard. Well, you can't do that in Battlefield 2042 because there's like a million things that have you shown on radar at all times. They have the binoculars in the game that you unlock towards the later levels, and they ping pretty much everything. As you can see from this gameplay, you can just ping an entire battlefield and it shows and highlights the entire enemy team, and every single dot will show up on radar. All the vehicles have spotters now, so you can be constantly spotted by vehicles. They have the proximity sensors. Everyone uses the proximity sensors because it's an easy way to get XP, and it's just an easy way to show where all the enemies are. So anytime you're in a close quarters battle or you're at an objective, everyone is just constantly throwing the proximity sensors, so you're constantly getting pinged. If that's not enough, Casper has his drone. He can fly his drone around and just constantly ping everyone all over the battle. The point is, there's a million things that can constantly just ping you on the radar, and it kind of defeats the purpose of having suppressors. The suppressors will hide your bullets from radar. Well, if everything is already pinging you to begin with, there's no reason of even having a suppressor because you're just constantly pinged. I think a lot of the problem would go away if they just redid the proximity sensors or just completely got rid of them, because I couldn't tell you how many times I thought I was hidden in like a bush or on top of a building or in a crate, or like I'm hiding somewhere where I shouldn't be able to be found, and then I instantly get killed. So I miss the old days of the old Battlefields where suppressors actually were useful. So the next thing on my list for the most hated things in Battlefield 2042 is pretty much all of the 30mm cannons. Now this game is pretty bad with the vehicle spam. I feel like I'm just constantly being killed by vehicles pretty much everywhere I go, and I think a lot of that has to do with all these 30mm cannons. They're on the little recon Jeep, they're on the M5C Bolt vehicle, and they're also on the attack helicopters. And it feels like you're just constantly being spammed by these 30mm cannons everywhere you go. Not to mention the splash damage on the things is just insanely deadly. If you're in a group of people, you will get absolutely wiped out by these things. They have pretty much endless range. It feels like they have no drop off to their bullets whatsoever, and they're just absolutely deadly. And the fact that you can like have them on the go wherever is just ridiculous. There's very little cover in this game. A lot of the maps are big open environments, like in an open desert or an open field, or I mean, you name it, there's like nowhere to hide. So if you have an attack helicopter up above you, the passenger can just absolutely wreck you. Those M5C bolts, I see those everywhere. I've seen a lot of people complaining about these because these are basically one-man armies. You can just drive them around, switch to the passenger seat, and then instantly kill 4 or 5 people. And you're also being protected by the armor of the vehicle. It's harder to get sniped and killed out of the driver's seat versus the little recon Jeep. But the point is, with the poor map design and just there being so many vehicles and you can call in vehicles anywhere, it just feels like you're constantly being killed by 30mm cannons, and there's nothing you can really do to stop it. You just kind of have to take it. It feels like the infantry in this game just gets bullied, and it's not as fun as previous Battlefield games. So the next problem I have on my list has to do with the air vehicles, and it's the fact that everyone has anti-air now. Because of the specialist system, pretty much anyone can equip anti-air rockets at any time. Not to mention there's a specialist that can hack air vehicles, and they even have an anti-air tank. So between all these different things, if you're in the air, it's pretty much impossible to stay in the air for more than like 2 seconds. Now, I do think that the air vehicles are really strong, and I don't like being killed by them, but boy is it not fun to be in one, because the maps are so open, there's almost nowhere to hide if you're in a helicopter or a jet or something. Odds are you're going to get shot down very, very quickly between the anti-air tanks or the hacking specialist or everyone pulling out their anti-air rockets. You're going to die. And the flares in this game are pretty much useless, because as soon as you activate the flares, the person that shot the anti-air rocket at you already has their second rocket already reloaded, and like if there's a second person aiming at you, like you're pretty much dead. There's nowhere you can go. In previous Battlefield games, you could like bob and weave between skyscrapers and stuff to get out of the range of the people with the rockets. Well, you can't really do that as much in Battlefield 2042. With some of these big open maps, if you have somebody locked onto your helicopter, you're pretty much just screwed. So I think they should either give helicopters and stuff either an additional set of flares or somehow rework the specialist system, but that's like a whole nother topic that I think needs to happen. I think the specialist system and the lack of classes is such a big problem that deserves its own video, and I'm not even going to put this in this list, because the fact that every single specialist can run around with every weapon and every gadget is just its own problem completely. But it just feels like anytime I get into a helicopter, I'm pretty much instantly shot down before I can do anything. Maybe that's just a me problem, and I don't know how to improve on that. I would say that, hey, maybe I suck at helicopters, but I don't know how to get better at spawn dying to anti-air. It's one thing if I just suck at flying, but I just literally, anytime I get in a helicopter, I get shot down before I can even effectively use the helicopter. So the next thing on my list has to do with the map sizes. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard this complaint a lot, but I'm going to bring it up yet again in this list. The map sizes in this game are just way, way too big. They definitely overcompensated for the size of the maps due to the 128 player base, but I think they should just nerf the 128 players and take it back down to 64 players, because 128 is just way too much. It makes the maps laggy, it makes everybody lose frames, everyone is fighting in one spot on one objective and breakthrough, then it's just going to get choppy and just crappy, and it's not fun for anyone because everyone's fighting in one spot. Odds are probably on top of a skyscraper, and there's just tons of explosions and it looks just like crap. Conquest is basically just a running simulator. I've tried to play Conquest a couple of different times now, and it's just not enjoyable to me. Unless I'm just camping one objective the entire map, I'm not going to see any action. I've tried many times to play Conquest because it was one of my favorite modes in previous Battlefield games, but it's just me running and running and running and running, and then I die, and then I gotta run some more, and then I die to a freaking vehicle in my spawn, and then I run some more. It just feels like a running simulator because there's no cover. So I feel like the maps need to be, one, reduced in size. They need to completely get rid of some of the objective zones in Conquest and like reduce the size by like a fourth of the size. Definitely make the map smaller for starters. And then the second thing they need to do is add more cover. A lot of these maps are wide open and you can see everyone just running around out in the open. You're easy prey for vehicles, you're easy prey for snipers. You can get spawn camped really bad and very easily. I think they need more like natural cover, some trees, some bushes, you know, some debris, some blown up vehicles or something just to let you hide behind more cover. You should not have to spawn in this game and then die before you even get out of the spawn because you're in a wide open field. So definitely, one, shrink the map size, and two, add some more cover. And then the number one thing that I want to talk about that I hate the most about Battlefield 2042 is the fact that there's no server browsers. I'm sure you guys have heard this brought up in other places as well, but the fact that there's no server browser is pretty much killing the game for me. Now, I play on the Xbox Series X, and I like to play with crossplay turned off, because if I have crossplay turned on, it is just an absolute slaughter fest, and I can tell the difference. If I play with just Xbox players, I die like 50% less of the time. If I turn it on and I'm playing with PC players, I get spawn killed left and right. I get sniped from ridiculously far distances away. If I'm in a 1v1 fight with another sniper, I will almost always lose the fight. It is just a not fun time for me to play with crossplay. So if I turn crossplay off, it is almost impossible for me to find a match. Now I know not everyone has this problem. If you play on PlayStation 5 or PC, you know, you probably don't run into that problem. It's not as big of a deal to you, but at the same time, even if you play on those other consoles, it's still a good idea to have a server browser, because say you don't want to play on the same map 10 times in a row. This game has that issue where it doesn't put you in a rolling lobby, it takes you out to the main menu every time, and then you have to search for a new match. Well, the problem with that is, say you get Orbital, and then you go to the main menu, and then you can get Orbital again, and then you go back to the main menu, and then you can get Orbital a third time. Well, if they had a server browser, I could just go pick whichever server is the most populated on Xbox. I can actually get into matches, and I can avoid the maps that I play on like 5 or 6 times in a row. I've played on that Hourglass map, the one in the sand with the football stadium, and it's just wide open, and then towards the end of the map, you fight on top of the skyscraper. I have come to despise that map because I've played it so many times. That is by far like Battlefield's favorite map for me. I don't know why, but if I'm searching for a map, it gives me Hourglass, I would say 90% of the time, and I'm not even exaggerating. I have come to hate that Hourglass map because I don't get to play any of the other maps. I know a lot of people don't like the Kaleidoscope map, the one in the city, but I actually like the Kaleidoscope map because it's something different and it's something that I never get to play on. So they definitely 100% need a server browser, for one, because people could find matches easier if they want to turn crossplay off. People could play on the maps that they want to play on. And another thing they need to do is add more game modes to the main base game. Recently they added Battlefield 2042 Rush in Portal mode, and people are loving it. I've seen a lot of people talk on the subreddit about it and how much they're having fun. I'm actually able to get into matches of Rush, and it's a blast. The maps actually go pretty well with Rush. They may be really big in the other modes, but when everything's kind of funneled together into Rush, the most fun I've had in Battlefield 2042 has come from me playing Rush in just the past couple days. So if they add Rush and they add other game modes and they add a server browser, I think this is going to make a lot of people happy. And just small things like this, and there's a million things I didn't talk about, like the scoreboard, the lack of squad play. Right? There's so many features that didn't make it into Battlefield 2042 that were in previous Battlefields. I could write an entire book about things that this game needs to do. But this was just a list of the top 5 things that I currently hate the most in Battlefield, and these are things that I hope get changed. So add a server browser, make the map smaller, maybe reduce this player count if you can, to make it a little bit easier on the servers and a little bit easier on everyone's hardware. Do something about all the 30mm cannons because they're absolutely nuts. I don't know how they're going to fix the anti-air rockets with the helicopters. The game is just designed in a way with having specialists. Everyone's going to have anti-air rockets, and air vehicles are just going to continuously get wrecked. So unless they do an overhaul to the specialist system, which I don't see them doing, I guess we're just out of luck for air vehicles. And then, like I said, the suppressors, I feel pretty useless if I'm using a suppressor. It kind of makes me sad I can't play stealthy if I want to because there's so many things that can ping you. And yeah, it's kind of upsetting that suppressors are pretty useless now. But that is going to do it for this quick list. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. If you guys are new here, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and I will talk to you all in the next video.